So you're telling me there's secret bunkers under the United States, but we're not on the guest list? So there are massive underground bunkers built by the US government that are fully stocked and ready for doomsday. Most people have no idea these places exist. From nuclear-proof command posts to elite hideouts for politicians, these bunkers are stocked, guarded, and ready for doomsday. But if the hits the fan, you're not getting in. Let's start with Raven Rock Mountain Complex, also known as Site R. Think of this one as like the underground Pentagon. It's located in Pennsylvania. It was built during the Cold War, and this is where all the top brass would go if Washington is going to get nuked. It's got its own housing, blast doors, command center, everything they need. Next up, we have Cheyenne Mountain Complex. This is located in Colorado, deep in the Granite Mountains, and it's actually designed to take a direct nuclear hit. This is where NORAD will be based in the event of something crazy happening. This is where they can track missiles, aircraft, and basically run everything 24/7. Literally a military brain inside of a mountain. But the most eerie, Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center, located in Virginia. This is the real-life continuation of government location. This is where select military officials, even media, would be evacuated to in the event of a massive attack, and it's actually still operational today. It's heavily secured and completely off limits. Here's the kicker, guys. These are meant to protect them. So what's your plan in the event something crazy like this happens? Comment right here and tell me what your plan would be, and make sure you're following, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I thought it was pretty interesting to see the actual facilities that we know about. There's obviously a lot more too. No one's going to save you. Make sure you guys stay prepared.
Don't put it off. Don't wait. My number one recommendation, if I have one right now. Yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of family stuff, but I will be back. Harden up. It's back to the basics, people. Back to the basics. Harden up your basics. In the prepping community, we tend to work a little bit on this, a little bit on that. And we get kind of off course sometimes and never really finish some things. Even if you think you have, go back and revisit it. Now's the time. There's a lot of possibilities right now, and they grow each day. Okay? I got a lot of stuff to tell you, but I just don't have the time right now. Heed my word, folks. Back to the basics. Number one, water. I know you probably got some stored, but if you're using freeze-dried stuff, revisit it. Make sure you have water set aside just for that, okay? Make sure if you're storing water that you've got it up to par, okay? If you need to be changing it out, do that. Don't wait. Do it now, today, tomorrow. Don't wait. Your security, revisit your plans for that. Revisit your total plan. Who's coming? What are you doing? How are you gonna handle things? Sanitation. Your buckets, your cleaning supplies, your wipes, Visqueen, heavy-duty garbage bags, okay, cleaners, ability to clean with things, okay, lighting, alternative power sources. Revisit your basics. Make sure it's stored where you know where it is. Make sure that things fit, the stuff that you're going to need, okay, organize it. If you're missing out on that, do it now, okay. Even if you have water stored, you need to be able to collect, purify, and store water on the move. Don't forget that one. It's important. To bug in, you have to accept the fact, as I've said many times, you may have to bug out. Plan for that. Plan around things that are around you that would be a hazard. If you haven't done that, do it now. Communications. Yeah, the radios, but your overall plan. How are you going to move? How are you going to communicate? What's the plan if you can't communicate? Okay? Get all that sorted out now. The time for waiting is pretty much over, folks. Get back and harden up your basics. Your medical, if you're lacking in something, fix it now. Even if it's training. If you don't have books and manuals to show you how to do things, now's the time to get them. Harden up your basics, people. Hit the basics. Vital Prepper, I'll be back with more.
What is a liberal prepper? This has been a frequent question on my posts, and I decided to address it here. Many people identify as liberal preppers, leftist or progressive preppers, because historically preppers have been conservative or doomsday preppers, and liberal prepping is akin, but much different. Let's start with, what is a doomsday or conservative prepper? These guys have been around for decades and are associated with survivalism and militias. They're focused on extreme situations such as an apocalypse happening suddenly with ensuing collapse of civilization as we know it. Liberal preppers began with a concern for climate change and the frequency of emergencies and natural disasters. But with the current political reality in the U.S., both prepper groups share a distrust in the government and the government's ability to support its people during disasters and otherwise. While doomsday preppers are heavy on the guns and bunkers, and liberal preppers are heavy on the canning and gardening, all of us dabble in all of the prep techniques. More recently, the Christian fundamentalists have grown from or grown in the doomsday prep movement. This is an extremist group that thrives on fear and is spearheading the anti-vax campaigns and the distrust in public education. The prevalence of this group is driving massive numbers of millennials and Gen Zers to leave organized religion altogether, as Christian is no longer a word with a singular meaning. Liberal preppers, though much more diverse in our population base, embrace ethics and morality more broadly with a focus on responsibility to the earth and other people. What I believe is the biggest difference that separates doomsdayers from the libbers is how we view our responsibilities in our response to emergency preparedness. Doomsday preppers are lone wolves and are going it alone and jump on my feed to tell me FEMA's going to take all my pantry stock. While liberal preppers are storing food for the families as well, but our focus is on community because we know when the shit hits the fan, it's our diverse community that's going to work together to help us all survive. So be prepared, not scared, and don't forget to be active in your community to combat oppression and a fascist regime because we could do it together. Last example, doomsday preppers prepare to guard and protect their small unit like their family and their hoarded supplies from people that will come after them or after it when civilization collapses. Liberal preppers are actively right now seeking out community to work together with and when supply chains collapse or an economic downturn changes our financial situation or when there's a health crisis. Our pantries defeat our family, but it's stocked with extras for others, great trading items, seeds for rebuilding a community. Comment on this video what you think I'm missing in my discussion. I mean, let's learn from each other. That's what liberal prepping is all about.
Guys, welcome to the world's most high-tech luxury bomb shelter located right here in good old Kansas, USA. Let's go take a look inside this $30 million bunker.
The destination is on your right.
Good.
Welcome to the Survival Condo.
Wow, I have seen this so many times on YouTube and TikTok, and I'm here for myself. You've got an armed guard right there and a nice little private driveway. So this is a Titan II, correct?
No.
What was it?
It was an Atlas F.
Oh, it was an Atlas F.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought for some reason it was a Titan II.
No, these were nuclear hardened, designed to withstand a 20 kiloton nuclear warhead detonated within a half mile, and they would still be fully functional.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at it. Tell me everything about it, your doors, your generator, air supply. I know most people don't get into all that, but that's what I'm really into. These are impressive doors. Are these the original doors?
No, this is all new.
Wow.
I built all this, but each one of these halves is 16,000 pounds or 8 tons.
And what bar rating are these? 20 bars? Well, they'd have to be if you're going to take a nuke.
Yeah, these are pretty high. Before we put the hydraulics on my son, when he was like 8 years old, we could open these with one hand.
Really?
Perfectly balanced.
Wow, I love that noise.
You see on the wall there?
Yeah.
Was the original silo cap. When this place was operational as a missile base, you would walk up and you could walk right onto that missile level with the ground. So we excavated this down quite a bit actually, and everything above and outside of that white line is new construction. So that wall where it's white is 9 feet thick going in, and going down it's 9 feet thick.
Wow.
So the cap and the walls for the upper 35 feet are 9 feet thick.
What size warhead did the missile carry that was going to be launched from this unit?
It varied on these because they had these early generations, but they were basically Hiroshima size.
15 kiloton?
Right.
Wow.
They had a couple different technologies and they were playing with that stuff.
So what do you have here?
Each unit has an outdoor parking space and an indoor parking space. And so, like during a certain type of threat scenarios where your clients come, it could be like dangerous outside. It could be people taking pot shots. Most of our clients have armored vehicles. We could open the doors, they could drive in here, and they could unload in safety and not worry about getting shot at and stuff. So
Now, what is this?
it takes, like Yellowstone, they predict it would put ash over the entire planet. Everywhere would get something. But here in Kansas, we could expect 4 to 6 feet of volcanic ash. Well, that would overwhelm our nuclear, biological, and chemical air filters. So we have this Donaldson turret unit, which acts as like a cyclonic filter, and it takes the heavy particulate out. It's like a pre-filter.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't overwhelm our system.
This is impressive already.
We did all of our blast valves also. So these outside walls are 16 inches thick, and outside of that, there's 45 feet of concrete chunks of rock that are designed to shift and absorb shockwave.
That are piled up against that wall?
Yeah, they're formed in a wedge so that it forms an airfoil. So an air blast would turn into an airfoil. This is like a wing. The wind would go up and over it, so there's nothing to push against.
So what do you got here?
We've got a day tank that comes out. We've got a 25,000 gallon underground diesel tank. And so this has got, anyone that knows anything about diesel, we do have a smart filter, so it circulates right in the pump and takes up water and algae and it keeps it like new all the time. Then we have 2 Caterpillar diesel generators. Each one of these is 100 kW and each one can run the whole facility by itself. So these are 2 power sources right here. Our normal load on this building is, it averages year round probably about 65 kW. And then in the peak summer when we have a lot of the air conditioners running or a lot of heat in the winter time.
So 100 kW will run this whole bunker with air conditioning. How many square feet of bunker are there?
54,000.
54,000. Wow, and that one generator will do that.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
When they measured the energy efficiency of this building, it was the most efficient building they've ever measured today.
Because it's underground.
We got this big thermal mass, and it's just incredibly tight. So it's all measured. Our air handlers exchange 2,000 cubic feet a minute.
Wow.
This whole wall is all bulletproof thing. These are all ballistic rated doors. See that or not? But this is an entrapment area, so in a lockdown situation, that door wouldn't be open until that one was closed. Then this is a decontamination room. So we've got the radiation scrubs and biohazard scrubs, all this, HIPAA and all this commercial grade stuff. But we've got Geiger counters to measure radiation. You just have to scrub and rinse with water and get clean so you don't detect the radiation anymore. But,
so you got 2 of these?
no, just one for this.
Okay.
Just one. Then this is an air handler. This is a pre-filter. This takes the air down to HEPA grade, air filtration. So this conditions like the air in the wintertime, it could be 20 below zero here. And that heats it up to like 65, 70 degrees. In the summer, it could be 110 out here, and it cools it down to 70.
So are you cooling the air down, then run it through the filter?
We've run it through HEPA grade filters here. Yeah, and get it to the grade. So it takes all the particulate and stuff out. It's like 99.2% pure air. And then it goes into the unit. And we only turn on the NBC filtration if there's a
All right, so look, something don't add up. We are living in the middle of an economic crisis that should be on every news headline. It should be trending on all these apps, but it's not. Instead, you scroll through social media and what do you see? Celebrity gossip, relationship drama, challenges, filters, and dances. A whole bunch of get-rich side hustles that just don't work. And everybody is pretending to be okay. Meanwhile, millions of Americans are on the brink of extinction and nobody's talking about it. Let's talk some facts here. Over 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck and don't have no savings whatsoever. Food prices are still rising and many families are actually having to skip meals just to make ends meet. The tariffs and the inflation situation is crushing small businesses. Many entrepreneurs or working class families are having a hard time getting off the ground because it's just too expensive to get the supplies you need to run a profitable business. Homelessness is exploding in every city. We literally have entire tent cities just growing under bridges while there's constantly new high-end luxury condos being built that nobody's in, because nobody can afford to live in them. How much sense does that make? You got all these homeless people living under bridges, but then all these empty condos that nobody can afford to live in. You know what I'm saying? The wages have stagnated, but rent, healthcare, and education keep skyrocketing. We ain't making no money at the job, but everything's getting more expensive in the real world. And corporate layoffs, that's happening. It's quiet and it's ruthless, and you have millions of people that are in a situation where they went to school to get an education, to be in a certain field, and they were doing good at the job that they went to school for, and then one day they get the pink slip, they get told, you're laid off just because. That type of thing is happening a lot right now. The reality is, a lot of people are drowning. Families are unraveling, and there are a lot of situations right now where many children are actually going to bed hungry in the so-called richest country in the world. But why isn't that trending? Why isn't this what we're seeing every day on our feed? And the answer is painful, but it is very clear, because the system does not want you to notice. The architects of this matrix want to keep you distracted, entertained, and addicted, scrolling yourself into numbness while the world is collapsing all around you. Social media has become the digital bread and circus, a new form of pacification. Back in ancient Rome, they used gladiators and theater to distract people from the reality of the corruption and the collapse that was happening all around them. Well, instead of gladiators and theater, we now have TikTok and Twitter. We have Instagram and YouTube beefs. We have influencer drama. We have endless content that was designed to occupy our minds and occupy our attention while this system robs us blind. We are literally living in a time where reality is collapsing. What we are used to in society is changing, but the algorithm won't let you see it. Because what happens if the masses wake up? What happens when people stop laughing at memes and start to question who is behind their poverty? Who is responsible for their poverty? What happens when people realize the American dream was always a marketing scheme that was designed to keep you docile while billionaires harvest your labor? This is bigger than economics. This is psychological warfare, even a spiritual warfare. You are being programmed daily to stay in survival mode, to normalize struggle and laugh at your own pain and suffering, to compete instead of unite, to consume instead of create, to argue instead of organize. But this ain't just happening to you, it's happening to all of us, which means that we have the power to break the spell. You have to unplug from the matrix. We have to unplug from the matrix. Maybe not all at once, but it must be done and it must be intentional. We really have to start asking questions like, who profits from our poverty? Why do they want to keep us entertained and not educated? Why is real news buried while nonsense trends? And most importantly, who would you be if you weren't suffering all the time? Because once you start asking the right questions, the distractions start to lose its grip and a reality starts to come into focus. Because the truth is, America is collapsing, not just politically, but morally and economically. And if we don't really start to pay attention, it will collapse with us inside of it. So I'm not here to scare you, but I am here to remind you that you are not crazy and that you are not alone. The pressure you're feeling is real. The pain that you're feeling is real, but so is your power. So don't let the algorithm raise your children. Don't let the scroll keep you sedated. Wake up, look around, and prepare. Because while the empire burns, entertainment is the drug, and awareness is the antidote.
A young, creative, and determined girl decided to turn her dream into reality by building a secret underground bunker in her backyard for just $5,000. More than just a construction project, this bunker is a testament to her ingenuity, independence, and problem-solving skills. Brick by brick, beam by beam, she designed and built a unique hidden space where she could relax, read, or even escape from the outside world when needed. This project not only showcases her intelligence and determination, but also inspires others to pursue their passions, think outside the box, and turn seemingly impossible ideas into reality.
There are ways that the United States will destroy itself in the future. The U.S. faces a series of systemic challenges that, if left unchecked, could lead to its self-destruction. First of all, let's state the obvious. Political divisions have become so extreme that people rarely agree with each other. Meanwhile, strong opposing beliefs keep anything from getting done. Statistically, income inequality continues to grow, and this will only lead to an ever-widening gap between the wealthy elite and the struggling majority, which plants the seeds for social unrest and diminishing trust in institutions, and possibly a revolution against the system down the line. And whether you like it or not, climate change remains a ticking time bomb, as the nation's lack of unified action against the phenomenon makes it more difficult to find a solution. Additionally, in modern America, censorship and false stories in mainstream news make it harder for people to trust what they see or hear. This loss of trust in information sources can lead to confusion, poor decisions, and even major disasters, as people are misled or left uninformed. And let's not forget about the real danger that the U.S. might put itself in. Nuclear war. In recent years, U.S. involvement in wars like Ukraine and Gaza has isolated it globally, as seen in recent UN ceasefire votes. Moreover, escalating tensions with Russia and the risk of nuclear or even conventional conflict with China pose existential threats.
And I thought it was the UK that was on its arse. Seems like these Americans are really fucking struggling with the cost of living crisis. Check this video out. Tell me it don't break your heart. How can someone earning $80,000 a year be struggling to live? This is fucked.
And we are literally the brokest we've ever been. Brokest we've ever been.
But I'm making the most money I ever had my entire life. My husband and I, between the two of us, gross, make like over $80,000 a year. And if you told me a few years ago that $80,000 a year was not going to be enough for a family of four.
I make more than what I made back in 2015. But I am still literally living paycheck to paycheck.
I have to work 60 hours a week and make $80,000 a year to make ends meet. That's insane. I can't even begin to wrap my head around it.
Financially, I don't understand anymore. I don't understand how I make $34 an hour and I can't function. I can't pay my bills.
Okay, what's up, binders? Let's get it in. This right here, this is what they're selling us as a fresh apple. This one here isn't exactly fresh. I've had it 3 to 4 days. It's like an experimental apple. Fresh apple, out of the supermarket, straight to your refrigerator, individually packaged. It will last 6 to 8 weeks. It will have 6 to 8 weeks of life. That's with the appeal, that's with the wax, that's with the preservatives on the apple, straight out of the supermarket. Boom. Take the same apple, dehydrate it. Shelf life expands to a year, retains all of the natural nutrients. Listen, no preservatives, juicy, chewy, slightly crunchy, and guess what? It's a dog treat, but human grade ingredients, meaning no preservatives, no GMO. So, in an emergency, my vegan friends, always remember, you can dehydrate your apples and stretch the life of the fruit up to a year, 6 months to a year. And because you can freeze it after you, and then you can put it in a jar There's so many things you can do. That you can put cinnamon on it before you put it in the jar. Guess what? You ever had pickled apple? So many things you can do and retain the nutrient content of this apple in case you need it in an emergency situation. Another vegan life hack. Stay tuned.
I'm a global macro investor betting how the world's going to go. 1971, the United States had paper bills that were like checks in a checkbook. They didn't have any value. But what they would do is they'd get you gold. Because the U.S. wrote more checks than it had gold in the bank, the gold was going down. And on August 15th, 1971, I was clerking on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And I watched Nixon said, they're not going to get you gold. So it defaulted. And I went on the floor of the stock exchange and I said, wow, this is a crisis. And I thought it would go down on the stock market, and it went up a lot. And so I researched it, and I found that on March 5th, 1933, the exact same thing happened. Roosevelt announced that they were not going to get the gold and that they would go off that and that they would print a lot of money. And they printed a lot of money. And what I realized at that time, and saw many times since, that anything that surprised me may not have happened in my lifetime, but happened before. I studied the Great Depression. Because I did that, I was able to anticipate the 2008 financial crisis. We made a lot of money in the financial crisis because I understood what happened in the Great Depression. So in this case, three big things are happening that never happened before in our lifetimes. And the last time they happened was in the 1930 to 45 period. And those three things are the creation of a lot of printing of money to pay for the debts. We needed to at the time, but it was very overdone. We actually sent out checks which were about 5 times as much as the amount that would have compensated people for their losses. Where'd they get the money from? The government borrowed the money. Who did they borrow the money from? The Federal Reserve. What they did is the Federal Reserve prints the money and they buy the debt. And that's how it works. So now everybody gets all these checks and everybody's happy because they get all these checks. But when they get all this money and then they spend it, everybody's surprised they got inflation. We've increased the amount of money by 25% or more. What has happened? The price of anything is equal to the amount of money and credit spent on it divided by the quantity of it sold. And so when you increase the amount of money and credit, buying power, spending, by a lot more than you increase the quantity, you get inflation. What happened in both of those cases is they hit zero interest rates. So I can't lower the price of money, so what do? Number two is the amount of internal conflict that's going on in the United States. The size of the wealth gaps, the size of the political conflicts is the greatest since not only the 30 to 45 period, it's much greater than that, 1900. You have to go back to 1900 to have that conflict. We're having a form of a civil war where populism is one side in a battle with the other side that won't accept losing. That's why in the next elections, there's a good chance that neither side will accept the result and accept losing. History shows that when the causes people are behind are more important to them than the system is in jeopardy. Right now, there's not much agreement, and the polarity is becoming greater. The political right now, if you follow politics, if you even watch events like, what will the reaction be to Supreme Court making the decision of Roe versus Wade? Why are moderates in the political system choosing not to run for re-election? We have this internal conflict that is actually threatening rule of law and the adherence to the Constitution. It's entirely possible that people with different views, they will go to different places and they will fight. So that degree has never happened in my lifetime before. I was born in 1949. 1945 was when the New World Order began. These world orders happen because there's a conflict and then somebody wins. So that brings me to the third thing that's happening, which is the rise of a great power to be comparable, China, and with it, Russia, and they form alliances, right? There's the Allied powers and the Axis powers, two different sides, kind of, and then they're competing. Because what happens is when you have a new world order, the winners of the war get to set the rules. So in 1945, America won, and it was the richest country in the world. It had 80% of the world's gold, and gold was money, and it had 50% of the world's economy, and it had a monopoly on military power. And so it set the rules, and that's why the UN is in New York and the World Bank and the IMF are in Washington, D.C. It set the rules. So that's changing. There are certain things that we're doing. We're spending a lot more than we're earning. We're living off the printing presses. We're letting the infrastructure go. We're giving our next generation debts. We're not educating all children well. And we have a world order battle. There is an allied and axis power kind of thing that is emerging. There's certainly a competition. There are 5 different kinds of wars. There's a trade war. There's a technology war. There is a geopolitical influence war. There's a capital war. And there could be a military war. There is a military war now in Europe with Russia. And those are the patterns of history. And there's only one way to do well, and that is to be strong in all those ways. So I'm very bipartisan. I believe the opposite of the polarity, the extremes of the left or the right. I pray for the middle and bipartisanship to find ways. I've watched the process evolve in the cycle. So what happens is you have the war, you have the new rules. Wars are sort of great equalizers, and then you come back. And then you have a period of peace and prosperity. You have peace because nobody wants to fight the dominant power, and you have 4 equal people, and then they have prosperity. But the way the system works is over a period of time, that creates differences in wealth. And that's fine. You provide capital. That's the capital system. People with great ideas come along and they're productive and inventive and they produce great things and so on. But as they obtain the greater wealth, they also obtain greater benefits, like they could educate their children better. And if you're poor, you don't get to educate your children better. And so the polarity increases and it becomes unfair because, we all should have like equal opportunity. And then you also build up a lot of debt. Here's the irony of it. As these cycles begin at their later stages, the rich are the ones who get into debt. Now, you would think it's exactly the opposite. It's easier to have a good living standard and save. But like the United States, when per capita income was 40 times that in China, it started to borrow from China because they have a big saving mentality. When you have a poor person who doesn't have much, they want to save. Their saving is in our currency because when they think, how do I save in world currency? I'm going to buy dollar-denominated debt and I'm going to save in it when we borrow. And that's been the case. We didn't experience what our prior generations experienced. I know my dad went through World War II. He went through depression and war. His mentality is very different in terms of, what you take for granted or how you save. And that creates a cycle. One man's debts are somebody else's assets. The world right now is holding a lot of money in debt instruments. It could be money market funds. It could be bond funds. And we were in an environment in which bonds went up for 40 years and everybody's comfortable. And there wasn't an inflation pressure. And so everybody thinks that cash is the safest place to be because they don't think about its buying power. And so what happens is you have to satisfy both the debtors and the creditors, which is difficult to do when you've got more. Okay, you got a lot of debt. Because if you pay that debt back in real money, in hard money, so the guy gets paid back the buying power that he lent, that is going to be really bad because you won't have enough money. So the easiest tax is to tax through the printing of money. And that's because, nobody asked where did the money come from. The checks came in and we're all happy and we didn't take the money away from anybody, but you lose the buying power. So as you get the inflation for that, you get the behavior change. So still, you have to make a choice. Do you want to own that stuff or not? And so what happens is when you make that choice that you don't want to own it, you sell it. And so the amount of selling is not just the deficit. The government will have a deficit of 5 or 6% of GDP. It'll have to borrow. So that means it sells bonds or sells debt of 5 or 6% of GDP. But if others sell too, because they say, I'm not getting a real return, I'm not going to hold that, then you have a lot of selling. That means that either interest rates go up a lot and shut the thing down, or the government prints more money. And that's the mechanics. History's shown us, chapter 3, I think it is, called The Value of Money. And 100% of the time when they're in that position, they'll print the money. Here's the big thing that people think. Money and financial assets are not wealth. They're claims on wealth, but they're worthless. It has no value. It's not real. It's just like digital. It only has wealth, real wealth, if you sell it and you go buy something. It works as long as people who are holding those financial assets want to keep holding those financial assets, even though they're losing buying power to them. It's a Ponzi scheme. That's why if you look at history, even in the Old Testament, there was this idea of the year of Jubilee. What it meant is, okay, you always have these financial obligations rising relative to the other. It happened so often that they said, okay, let's just plan on it. Like every 50 years, we're going to have to wipe it clean. Old Testament in the Bible. Okay, and they said every year we're going to have to do it. And then it was a system actually where they would say, now that you know it's going to be wiped out in 50 years.
Okay, what's up, binders? Let's get it in. This right here, this is what they're selling us as a fresh apple. This one here isn't exactly
I'm not
fresh.
a complete doomsday prepper, but I do
Like
believe in preparing for hard times. So we don't know the way of the world. I think the last 2 years have really showed us that things can be very, very unpredictable. So I'm going to show you some budget-friendly options for preparing for times where there might not be enough food or just shortages, so that you and your family can have something to lean back on. Canned goods generally always are sold at a decent price. Canned goods have a long shelf life and could be stored easy. Same thing with dehydrated products like these mashed potatoes. Dry beans last a long time if you know how to store it properly. You can also buy different amounts according to your budget. Pasta lasts a long time, especially if you know how to store it properly. And matches. Now you can buy storm-proof, waterproof matches for a little bit more, but regular matches do well, and I can show you how to preserve your regular matches as well. And of course, water. Water is always necessary. Clean drinking water is always necessary. Say bye-bye, Zuri. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So y'all still don't think America taking a loss? Within 3 months, unemployment rate done went up. The American debt has tripled. People 401k being impacted. The stock market is crashing. Matter of fact, speaking of 401k, go take a look at your 401k and see the impact this year has had so far on your 401k. A lot of y'all don't even pay attention to it. And a lot of y'all don't even believe that or know that your 401k is part of the stock market. That's how smart y'all is. A lot of y'all don't even know your 401k is part of the stock market. Y'all believe and think since it come out your check each pay period, that it's always gonna be there. Wow. That's how clueless a lot of y'all is. Just gonna look at your stock market. Not everybody's been impacted or been affected right now, but just go take a look at. Just go take a look. A huge amount of American people 401k has been impacted and taken a loss within the last 3 months.
Well, guys, experts are saying America is right around the corner from almost being a third world country. They're saying major crash for U.S. economy has begun. Experts say they're saying that the American dollar is about to be valued to zero. And Bitcoin, they're doing a meeting now, whereas they're trying to see if they're going to do digital or if they're going to let the bricks take over. So America right now is in the deep mud. They say the economy is in the dirt. The dirt is sinking down like quicksand. They said you can't raise the debt now one more time. They said it's over. It's done. They said we going down. This getting really scary, but they said if you got a little bit of money, go ahead, invest in gold and start putting your money in Bitcoin. Because they saying it's right around the corner. The storm is coming to America as far as the finances. So it's your boy bringing you up to par.
In the late 1920s, the United States was hit by an economic catastrophe that would define a generation, the Great Depression. It all began with the stock market crash of October 1929, when billions of dollars were wiped out in a single day, plunging the country into financial chaos. Banks failed, businesses shuttered, and unemployment soared to unprecedented levels, reaching nearly 25% by 1933. Families lost their homes and life savings, and breadlines became a common sight in cities across America. The Dust Bowl, a severe drought coupled with poor farming practices, devastated the agricultural heartland, displacing thousands of farming families. In response, President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal, a series of programs and reforms designed to revive the economy and provide relief to suffering Americans. While the New Deal helped to stabilize the economy, it wasn't until the onset of World War II that the United States fully emerged from the depths of the Great Depression.
So, I've always thought my dad was dramatic. He got my brother and I these 2 go bags, probably like a couple years ago when I was still in undergrad, and he was just like, keep these on you, whether they're like in your closet or in your car, just where you always know where they are. So just out of curiosity, because I've never opened the bag, I'm going to see what my dad had inside of my brother and I's go bags. So starting off with the first compartment. Oh, floss. Okay, we never played about dividing. Then we have this, there's 2 of these. It's a mini meal. It says it's 400 calories, and it's an apple cinnamon food bar. Has a 5-year shelf life. Then you have, I've seen these before, show you what these are. This is emergency water. So there's like 4 packs of this in there. Deodorant, stay clean. And I think these are, my dad has always felt like he needed to grab the shampoo and conditioners out of the hotel. And y'all, these are literally mini shampoos and conditioners. So, who's gonna be clean? Okay. Then for the next compartment, we have a Support Our Veterans bracelet with like a hotline number on it. I don't know. Then we have some ear cushion or whatever, ear protectors for noise, I think. I don't know what they're called. Then we have, oh, this is like, it's a battery powered headband, like so you can have whatever. I don't know what these are. I don't know. They're like straps, so maybe they're like to strap stuff together. And then, what I just broke off is like, it looks like a mini flashlight just like attached into the backpack. That's neat. Okay, let's go through the middle compartment. We've got clothes clips, or if you need to air dry your clothes. Then this is like that gauze, like tape stuff. Then there's like a huge roll of duct tape. Oh, we got a whistle, and then we got a signal here. Okay. All right, the last one. We got a box. Oh, it has like a compass, like one of those little Gerber tool blades. And I think they're like whistles and little beeper flashlights. I don't know. Okay. Then we got some gloves. This kind of scared me. I don't know what this was. A slingshot device or something. A washcloth. Clean up. I think this is one of those water bottles that you can filter out your water. Like you have to get water from like, I don't know, a lake or something. This is closed though. This is how that military stuff be tacky. Oh, it's a ramen noodles, y'all. It's literally roasted chicken ramen noodles. Period. Okay, this is some more food. This is like granola. It says it's 10 servings in here. Yeah. Cool. Then we got, okay, uji. Okay, we got salmon. Of course, more water packs. What are these? These are tactical lights. I think these ones like can go in the water and stuff. Cool. And then, okay, here it is. Some honey and smoked soda. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else in here. That's a lot of storage. But that is what was inside my go bag from my head.
The whole purpose for these videos is to give people ideas for how they should be prepping, and if they can take anything from my videos and apply that to their lives, that's a bonus. I show how I store my water. I show different types of water filters like the water machine. Long-term food storage, how to package things in Mylar so you can store things for a very long time. Electronic devices for when there's possible radiation. That's a Geiger counter, by the way. How I made my Faraday can and some Jackery units that I use. Faraday bags. Ideas for how you can organize your frozen meats. Not a lot of people know about potassium iodide and what the uses are for. This isn't a business. This isn't some type of big, I'm a big celebrity or anything like that. This is just me sharing what I do, how I'm doing it, what I have. And if you can apply it to your life, that's awesome. Because a lot of people look at other videos and be like, oh man, that's a great idea. I should do that. By the way, I got a bunch of these. These are great respirators. So if you're not prepping, you probably should start.
Some people think I'm just gardening, but in reality, I'm preparing for Armageddon. I'm preparing for food famines. I'm learning how to be self-sustainable now, so later I won't have to wonder, but I would have prepared soil that can grow food. So no, I'm not wasting my time. Neither do I not have a job. My number one job is to make sure that my family is fed. And one way I figured to do that is to make sure there's good soil and there's food raised up year-round, seasonally. And that is why I spend a lot of time in the garden. So if you wonder, why am I always in the dirt? It's because I understand there's gonna come a time where food is gonna be scarce. Grocery shops are gonna be closed. And if you don't got food in your backyard, it's gonna be very tough to trade. So technically, I'm building an economic tool to barter with. So growing your own food is a job. Because you can see right now what happens when we run out of things. People go crazy. And it is important that we learn how to sustain ourselves. So a lot of people love to be in big apartment buildings and spend thousands of dollars monthly and get no land. And they want to live a nice lifestyle and be congested in the city. But the smartest of us will learn that getting your little house with your backyard, homesteading, gardening is the way to go. Buy some chickens, get some cows. Whatever you do, make sure you grow your own food. I'm just saying.
US dollar collapses, then automatically the US economy will crash. Remember, this is the international currency. There is going to be such massive financial loss in the United States in particular. White America losing most of its wealth. That you can close your eyes and anticipate panic in the United States of America and riots in the United States of America. They might have to declare martial law in the United States. But more than that, the collapse of the US dollar, since this is the international currency, is going to create panic in the weak currency areas of the world. Indonesian rupiah, the Bangladeshi taka, the Pakistani rupee. There's going to be panic as people struggle and rush to dump their paper.
This is the $300 million private members doomsday bunker being built for the world's wealthiest people. Designed to withstand everything from natural disasters to nuclear bombs, think of it as the Soho House of fallout shelters. The $20 million membership fee gets you access to, quote, AI-powered medical care, luxury dining facilities, IV therapy rooms, cold plunge centers, a massage area staffed by robots, swimming pools, a gym, a climbing wall, and, most importantly, a bowling alley. And befitting the price tag, the underground fortress is set to look like a cross between a Dubai penthouse and the lobby of Trump Tower. The bunker, which will be named Airy, is being built just outside Washington, D.C. by SAFE, a construction company that specializes in building secured structures. So everything from panic rooms and pirate-proof areas for luxury yachts to what they describe as state-of-the-art air raid shelters. Airy is the first of what SAFE hopes to be a nationwide network of private members' apocalypse bunkers. And the company says it will have blast-resistant walls, ballistic glass, and multiple layers of biometric authentication to keep the riffraff out. The bunker will reportedly take several years to build, but SAFE claims the first Taster Experience Center will open in 2026. So, until then, let's all take comfort in knowing that the world's multi-billionaires will be able to continue bowling while the rest of us are obliterated by nuclear war.